Right. So, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, whatever you are listening. Today with me, as always, Mr. Chris Q.
Hello, how you doing?
Off saving the world is Richard Morley, so he will not be with us this week. But in replacement is the awesome Cammie's Garage, Mr. Cameron Porter.
Hey. And the crowd goes wild.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm honored to be here.
No problem, sir.
You,
No problem.
Chris and Jimmy. Too
No
bad Richard
problem.
couldn't be here.
We couldn't go that far.
We couldn't believe you accepted.
Well, I don't want to talk.
Anyway, today's podcast is brought to you in part by Yorkshire Grit, the wood turners abrasive paste, our good friend Chad over at Man Crafting for his awesome powder-coated Yeti mugs, Pam from Highland Boxes with our amazing hybrid pen blanks, and Steve from Harnell Media, who takes all my credit for updating the website. To find out more information about our sponsors, visit our website at Meg's International Podcast /sponsors. And Chris still doesn't know where that splash button is.
I don't know where the button is. I'm looking on the keyboard. It doesn't say splash anywhere.
Chris, is there any random listener questions? No
Yes, there are. But before we get to that, it's our anniversary. It's our anniversary. We
Yay.
Today marks 4 years that we've been doing this nonsense.
That's a significant milestone. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So since it's our anniversary, my question is, Jamie, do you plan on taking me out to eat tonight?
Yeah, I'll take you out anytime. Knife or gun?
I'm talking candlelight, full blown.
Take him out?
Okay. Well, because if you weren't ready to take me out tonight, then you were going to sleep on the couch, and I don't know what your chances are of having a fifth. So I mean, you better step up, big guy.
I could run this on my own.
You know what? Next week, if Richard's not available, I'm going to let him try. All right. Anyway. I won't dance anymore. I don't worry. I won't.
Do a little dance, make a little love.
Get down tonight. I know. 4 years seems like a lifetime. Thanks, Wayne. It sure as hell does.
Yeah.
Anyway, bringing it back to some sort of normalcy. Hey, give us props for not like dedicating the entire show to a 4-year anniversary. I mean, come on. At least we're willing to blow ourselves off. And instead we have this awesome dude with us today, Cameron. As Cameron, I'll start your questions off with our normal inquisitor, who is obviously Mr. Andy Pugh. And Andy every week has questions for us. And Andy, we love you. And at the same time,
such a wonderful man.
At the same time, we kind of hate you sometimes too. But today we love you. So because he's not asking us these questions, he's asking you. So thank you, Andy. Andy says, I suspect not many people may know Cameron's background. So what would be a good start? So he thinks that would be a good starting point. So I guess Andy runs the show now. Thank you, Andy, for the directorial direction of the show. I guess it's going to be a good starting point according to Andy Pugh. So let's start there. Cameron, what's your background?
My background. Well, I was born in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I was born and raised there and lived in a couple of different towns, but grew up in a small town called New Glasgow. And I didn't really have any artistic influences when I was growing up, despite the fact that I was an artist and I would draw all the time. And after I graduated high school, I took a few community college courses and then looked into the animation industry back in '97. A friend of my brother saw the artwork that I had on the walls and said, hey, I have this animation studio, want to come try out? And I said, okay. And 2 days later, I was learning on the job. And that started my 20-year career in the animation industry.
Wow.
I got married to my wonderful wife, who took me to California, and I worked on The Simpsons for 4 years, seasons 18 through 21, and The Simpsons movie.
Whoa.
Back to Canada.
Wait. You worked on The Simpsons.
Oh.
I did.
The animated show. That's awesome. Okay, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. That's just freaking awesome. Go ahead.
Well over 30 seasons, and just mind blowing how successful that show has become. That was my best job ever, obviously. And then once my wife finished her PhD in California, we moved back to Canada for a few years. She got a job in Columbia, South Carolina, where we live now, as a professor at University of South Carolina. And that's basically when I started Cammie's Garage.
Awesome. Now you met
Nice.
where did you meet your wife when you were in Nova Scotia?
Yes, in Halifax, which is my hometown. I was born there, even though I didn't grow up there. But I moved back there after high school and lived there for about 6 years before moving to Charlottetown for a year, Prince Edward Island, and then I moved to California.
I'm so proud to say that I've been to Halifax. Halifax is a cool city. In case you've never seen, I mean, in Cameron, I know that, if you were born and raised there, you're going, whatever. But I mean, for me, being there once was really kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if people are aware of some of the history of Halifax, but if you ever want to take a look at it, unfortunately, a lot of the remains from the people that died in the Titanic are buried in Halifax. And there was a big explosion there and all kinds of fun history stuff to talk about. But I don't want to get nerding out on history today. You met your wife in Halifax. You moved to California, but then you moved back to Canada.
Right.
And then she got an opportunity and then in the States. Is that correct?
Right. Because she's a scientist, a doctor. She has a PhD. She's not a medical doctor, but very specialized in her field. So when she was applying for jobs, she applied to hundreds of positions everywhere, like not even just in North America, some in Europe. And I remember her possibly having an opportunity in Glasgow, Scotland. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. But that didn't end up happening because she got the offer here. And it was a really good offer. Pretty much couldn't refuse it. So that's why we ended up moving here.
That's awesome.
That means you'd have, if you went to Scotland, you'd have to be called Cammie's Garage instead of Cammie's Garage.
Well, I kind of say it with one syllable, garage.
Yeah. And what's wait a minute, what's that meal Scotland is famous for that you'd have
haggis.
to learn how to, haggis. You'd have to learn how to eat haggis. Yeah, exactly.
New Scotland, essentially. There's a lot of Scottish settlers.
I guess you can acquire a taste for anything if you're hungry. Anyway, Andy Pugh is obviously very, very familiar with you and with your channel.
Very supportive of the work I do. So thanks very much, Andy.
Yeah.
Andy's good people, even though that's the one probably and only time I'll ever say that, Andy. So just don't go there. But he wants to know. I'm kidding. He knows that you're a turner because you as far as your channel goes, you do a lot of different things on your channel, but you do some woodwork, and a lot of what you do is mostly. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong here, Cam, but I mean, you do mostly turning as far as your woodworking goes. Is that correct?
I've kind of transitioned. At first, I was doing a lot of turning in Cammie's Garage, but I've kind of migrated more towards doing fine art pieces now.
Oh, you know what? Because I've seen some of your videos that you did. You did some incredible segmented piece videos that turned into art, and it got a ton of views on your channel too, if I remember correct. Yeah,
there was one that kind of exploded for about 24 hours, and then it just dropped back to normal. I have difficulty getting momentum on my YouTube channel.
He has a question that he wants to ask. He says, "Did turning and that maybe you did just answer it, but I mean, I'll ask it anyway. Did turning come before sculpture, or did sculpture come first?"
I think the turning came first because when I first arrived in South Carolina, I wasn't allowed to work immediately because of immigration regulations. So I went to school and got an art degree at University of South Carolina here in town. And during that time, I realized I really liked doing woodwork, working with wood, as well as the lathe, especially. They had a big, they essentially they have the same lathe at the school as I have now. That's kind of one of the reasons why I bought the lathe I have now. It's a Powermatic 3520B.
Oh boy! don't hold back.
Big
If you're going to
boy.
go big, then
A
go
big
big.
boy.
I mean, yeah, go big or go home.
Interesting story behind
Yeah.
that, but I'll tell you in a second. But yeah, wood turning was kind of my entry drug into working with wood, and once
I like how you put that, because that's exactly what it is. It's an entry drug into woodworking. That's like I found the rabbit hole and I'm now going down. Okay, anyway, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, Cam.
Yeah, so the Cammie's Garage was born out of my wife. So after I finished my degree at school, I went back to doing freelance animation, and I actually worked on a show called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which was based on the book. And there was also a movie that came out like 10 years ago based on that book, animated film. But I was miserable doing that. My wife will tell you I was just kind of frustrated a lot. Not that I didn't like the work, just the situations I was in made it difficult. And so my wife said, we need to get you a wood shop. So we bought a house, or well, more specifically, she bought a house with a 2-car garage that I started to convert into a wood shop back in 2017. I think it was about April or May that we bought the house. So I basically started from the ground up and built up the shop and waited for months for that particular lathe that I bought to go on sale, because Powermatic came out with the new C model, and that our local woodworking specialty store had a B model in stock that it was about 30% off. So I got a pretty good deal on that. And interestingly enough, I was into the store. We didn't even know it was on sale. I was into the store to get something else. I think I was buying some edge banding for a credenza I made.
You went in looking for edge banding. It came out with a Powermatic lathe. I freaking love you. I love you already. I mean, you are the best right now, on top of the world for me right now. I walked into the store. I need to buy edge banding, but look what followed me home. Oh my God, I love you. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I love my wife because I went over to look at some edge banding, and she went over to look at the lathes, and she saw the sale sign on it. She came over to me and said, "We're buying a lathe today."
God, you know what? You married gold. If you don't mind me asking, what's your wife's first name?
Lori. She's actually on Instagram as Lori the Maker. She does sewing and things like that. Right now, she's working on a leather motorcycle jacket.
Everybody out in the chat, Jamie and I included, in unison, that's all. 1, 2, 3. Lori, we love you. We love you
very much. We'll also put links down in the description as well.
Yeah, she's a wonderful, wonderful lady, and very supportive of my foibles and my hobbies and the things I do.
She's an awesome camera person as well.
Mm-hmm.
God love her.
Once I encouraged her to move the camera around a little bit more.
All right, here comes the artistic aspect of Mr. Pugh's questions today, and I don't know if it's. I'll just ask the question, and I'm not going to even try to preface it.
We need him as the host.
He says a lot of your sculptures appear to have a mathematical feel about them. Is that by accident, or is it that mathematics is the inspiration?
Not math. I know Andy is a physics teacher, so I'm sure he's interested in that. The stuff I do, I think, takes basic math to make, for sure, a lot of the segmented stuff, because you need to, calculate how many segments and how many segments you want and what degrees each segment has to be, things like that, the sizes and the relationships. Although the actual measurements aren't necessarily
the attraction.
No, the important part of the pieces. The ratio between the sizes of all the pieces is what's the important part, because you can scale it to whatever size you need it to be, as long as that ratio is the same. For example, the 3 links. Well, I don't have it right here, but the 3-link sculpture, I think I called it linked. Yeah, so as long as the size of the tube fits inside that oval section snugly, that's the important part. The measurements isn't necessarily
Yeah. So I mean,
People ask me, what degree, what angle did you cut those pieces? How big did you cut those pieces? I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can easily figure it out for yourself. Plus, it's the ratio between the pieces that's important, not the actual measurements. But my wife will keep saying,
so it's not.
it doesn't necessarily come natural to other people.
Okay, Andy, to answer your question, it's not necessarily an accident, but it's not necessarily mathematics either. It's just, it's called creation. It's called being an artist. All right.
Amazing answer. No, they're not. Although I am drawn towards more geometric shapes and repeating patterns and things like that. So maybe that's why I'm attracted to making things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've seen what you've talked about. I actually watched you make it on YouTube, and it's awesome. I mean, it's cool. Well, whatever. We all have our shortcomings. That would be one of mine. Anyway, last question from Andy, and I would encourage the people that are here today that are meeting you for the first time, or maybe who know you, just to ask your questions as well, because we're happy to get your input here too. Andy's last question here is: any thoughts for the future? Any projects that you really want to do, but you just haven't done yet? Is there anything that you have? And he doesn't want you to reveal secrets, but if you have things in the future that you're going, you know what, I'd like to tackle this someday, then he wants to know what that is.
Of course, I have no end of ideas. It's just the time it takes to make them. And, this year has kind of been a slow year for me. I felt like I had a lot of momentum at the end of 2019. I was getting a lot of commissions and things like that. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden everything kind of slowed down and stopped. And I was low on motivation and things like that. I've got a few commissions lately, plus this latest piece that I'm working on. Even though I'm not like hurrying through it, I want to take my time to do it right. So this will not be a fast project. But yeah, I actually really want to do more carving, like animals, things like that, recognizable things, not necessarily abstract things, although I like to make abstract things too. Although my animal carvings seem to be my most popular videos.
Mm. So, but do you enjoy doing the animals? I mean,
yeah.
Frankly, who cares what your videos are? I guess you do if you care about your YouTube channel. But I'm sorry, my perspective is different than most people's. But if you enjoy it, then far out, go do it. What kind of animals? What I tell you what, I'm looking for a specific answer because I would love to hear you say this. And actually, I'd love to see you do it if you do decide to do it. Do you have a specific animal in mind that you'd like to carve?
I think the next one I'm going to try is a killer whale. Actually, I have a piece of
orca.
Yeah, I have a piece of walnut out there, and I'm going to try to cut it at sort of a wave with a piece of maple and glue those two pieces together. So the light colored wood will be the bottom of the whale, and the walnut will be the top of the whale.
Oh, awesome!
And plus, make that little white spot that is so common to killer whales in there. Like I can just carve it out, carefully cut it to the right size, or carve it to the right size and glue it in there, sort of as a veneer piece, and then carve it, smooth it, make it all nice and shiny.
All right, I'll tell
Andy,
you what.
I'm not sure if you've seen his channel, but Andy Hill, AH Bespoke, he'd done a carved a killer whale.
I did check out Andy's channel after I watched him. During the Virtually Crafty Festival. So yeah, there's really cool stuff for sure.
Yeah. So there's going back into the chat from a little while ago. A lot of people, the vast majority of the people, seem quite interested about The Simpsons. So obviously, they were singing Spider Pig for quite a while. So I'm going to ask, what was the high?
Crazy, it's crazy.
What would you say was your highs on that? Obviously, it was a great opportunity for you. So, what would you say was the highlights of being part of that?
Oh gosh, the people that I worked with were so wonderful. I get goosebumps thinking about just the amazing artists that I work with on that show, and they're just such cool people. like so many cool people that I work with. Hundreds of people work on the show, and there's a big studio.
Well, you kind of expect the people working on The Simpsons to be pretty cool. I mean, come on.
For sure.
Yeah.
But,
Not a lot of fudgy pantses walking around there.
well, now, back when I worked on the show, it was at a studio called Film Roman. Since then, they've moved to the Fox lot, so it's become Fox Animation now, I think. But they have most of the same people that are working there, and some have moved on to new projects. For example, my director at the time has now moved to Disney, and she's a story artist at Disney, so that's pretty
Wow, that's a
amazing.
great opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm proud to say that I've worked with those people. I'm still friends with many of them, of course.
Yeah.
Is that something? I mean, because I know that you mentioned before that you came out of California and spent some time doing some animation work, and I don't know if it was work environment or the type of work you were doing that you just all of a sudden just couldn't take it anymore, and that's why you got a wood shop. But would an atmosphere like that ever interest you again to get back into, or are you pretty much just happy doing what you're doing now?
If my wife and I leave here, it will be a shame to leave Cammie's Garage behind. I really don't want to do that, but it really depends on where we go. Like, for example, if we move to another city, we may not have the opportunity to have a workshop. So depending on what city we move to, if we ever leave, it's difficult to say at this time. We may end up staying here for a while. We might leave next year. I don't know.
But that's not something you're pursuing, is what I'm saying.
Not actively pursuing right now.
Okay. All right, cool. All right.
I like, I'm proud of the work that I'm doing. I really enjoy making the videos and making the art, even though things have been slow this year. So, I'm still applying to, shows and things like that. Most of the shows were canceled this year, which really put a damper on my momentum, as I mentioned before. And my enthusiasm really was kind of, difficult to keep going when everything is canceled that you had planned for the year. So, yeah, if we end up moving to another city where I know there's animation, I'll probably get back into doing animation. When I was working freelance, it was frustrating. I feel like when you're in a studio environment, it's kind of easier, to stay motivated.
Yeah. Is there any particular shows going on at the moment that you would like to work on that you can think of?
Well, let me ask this question first. Are you even still in that kind of loop?
Go back to The Simpsons, but I know that's not possible at this time. And other shows that I like, you know what? I don't watch a lot of television, ironically, even though I work on animated television shows, or I did for a significant portion of my life. I never really watched the shows. Popular shows like, South Park, Archer, things like that. Obviously, it'd be pretty cool to work on shows like that, or Gumball. Obviously, it would be amazing to work at a place like Pixar or DreamWorks or Disney.
Oh, yeah,
you're kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I can imagine, especially in your line of work. And I'll thank you again. But I thanked him off camera, but I'll thank you on camera with us for providing us with a bit of a biography here, so that we would be able to help you tell your story today. But I noticed that you described yourself currently. You said that you were basically, in a nutshell, and I guess there's much more to it, which is what I'm going to ask you to expand upon. That you are basically a full-time studio artist and a content creator. Content creator, obviously, for Cammie's Garage. But what exactly is a studio artist? I mean, not being in that world, I think a general description of it would help me kind of understand what you're doing when you're not doing Cammie's Garage. Are you doing freelance work again, or a studio artist is just somebody who spends time building art and then looking to sell later? I mean, I don't know. You tell me, Cam.
The second thing that you said.
Okay.
This is my full-time job. I make art and I make videos. That is my full-time job. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay a lot right now, but I have sold a lot of pieces. Unfortunately, it doesn't really pay the bills. I have about 7,500 followers on my YouTube channel now, and I make a meager, extremely meager amount on my YouTube channel, enough for beer money. That's about it. And yeah, if like I said, at the end of 2019, I felt like I had the momentum, and I was, I actually was making enough money to actually make a living off of it. And then, like I said, 2020 came around and throwing a wrench into everything.
And that put a damper on everybody. Yeah, I hear you. But I mean, hopefully, I'm knocking on wood, my own head here. Hopefully, 2021, we can get back to some sort of normalcy.
Sure.
But I mean, in the line of doing, because you're basically a freelance studio artist now, and you're talking about selling your pieces and things of that nature. There are obviously venues where you can garner a higher price than others. I mean, it's one thing to go from craft shows to a fine art gallery.
That's right.
And because the price difference between the two is extraordinary. You go into and I don't know how many people have ever been to a fine art gallery when they're doing a showing of somebody's work. And then if you inquire what the prices are, it will put you back on your heels and then back you out of the door sometimes, because that stuff's not cheap. Have you had the opportunity to display them your work in any sort of one of those kind of high end places yet? Or is that just kind of something that everybody's trying to get into, and it's just a matter of, whenever it happens, it happens?
That is a good point. Competition for positions like that is very high. Mm-hmm. So it is difficult to get into a gallery or have a gallery represent you. Basically, you might get lucky, but at the same time, it takes a long time normally to establish yourself as a fine artist. You have to apply for shows and apply for grants and other things like that. I had one piece in South Carolina. I'll call it an event, but it's like a very large art show that it's called Art Fields. It's in a nearby town called Lake City every year. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year, but it has a really high prize money pool. Of last year, this year it was supposed to be upwards of $150,000, and the top prize is $50,000.
Wow!
So I had a piece in that in 2018, and then I won a few awards at a local juried art exhibition. I had a couple of friends that opened an art gallery in town, and just at the beginning of the year, and I had a very brief show there before they had to shut it down. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they just weren't getting any business at all, which was really sad. I feel bad for them, but they're doing okay. He is an art professor, so they're doing okay. Just that their other business didn't go anywhere, unfortunately, and that's really sad. But they're surviving. So yeah, it really takes a lot of hustling. You need to pound the pavement and get your name out there, and just ask repeatedly. Go to galleries. Like if you're a struggling artist, you need to go to galleries and interact with the people there. Talk to other artists.
Become familiar to the community, basically.
Right. You have to sort of be present and not just walk in and say, "Hi, can you show my stuff?" Because that won't work. You need to be there.
Yeah.
I bet there are people that actually do that, hoping for success, and it's just no, forget it.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, you have to have shows. You have to prove that you can, get grants and get shows and things like that before a gallery will represent you. Unless you get lucky, and I consider myself lucky in some ways throughout my life. I've kind of coasted most of my life and just never really had a plan. I just kind of went the way the wind blew me.
Right.
And, been
Well, I
fortunate.
mean, you always hear the story about the struggling artist, that is, basically eating peas for dinner. So I mean, it's like,
Well, I'm in the very fortunate position to have a wonderful wife that's supporting me and is supportive about what I'm pursuing and what I'm trying to do. And so I can't thank her enough.
I don't blame you. I mean, I'm in the same situation. I mean, I retired. My retirement is paying for much of what we do, but my wife continues to work just because, we 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 want to eat, as opposed to just keep the roof over our head and the power on.
Mhm.
So I totally understand that. I've gone, Jamie. I'm going to check the chat, and again, I'm going to ask you folks out there that are watching today and listening. Please send us some questions for Cam, because we've exhausted our plethora. But I mean, Jamie hasn't really had a chance to open up his mouth and ask the questions he'd like. So, Jamie, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'll keep an eye on the chat and interrupt if I need to.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of take it back to your channel. I'm gonna basically ask you, what are some of your, let's say, favorite and possibly least favorite pieces that you've ever made? Maybe something that's maybe not quite gone to plan, but you've posted anyway, and something you've thought, yay, it's gone awesome, or yes.
Yeah, how about I start with the worst ones? There was a piece that I made. I called it H, and I essentially turned two rings, or was it four? It was four rings on the lathe, and then cut them up and glued them back together in this pattern where we had like two U-shaped things that were glued together. I got a close-up note here. They were U-shaped and they were glued together.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, remember this is a podcast, so Instagram folks won't see it, but
it's audio.
I mean, it's audio, not Instagram. What am I talking about?
I didn't like it, and I ended up burning it because I didn't like it. Even though the video is still up, you can see it. I'm like, this is just taking up space. I don't like it. So I broke it into pieces and burned it.
Jamie, if you let me interrupt, we do have a question from Damien Ogiapivi, our friend from Australia.
Damo.
Yes, I follow him on Instagram.
Damo.
Our friend from Australia has a question for you. He says, when you're doing your animation, what is your preferred method? Do you prefer pen, ink, pencil, or digital?
Gosh, there's something to be said for traditional animation and how it just has so much life and character. But you can't be working on a computer for ease and efficiency in that respect. You can do so much more work on the computer and take a lot of shortcuts that.
All right, let me ask a question real quick, because
don't necessarily lower the quality, but you can still do way more work.
And Jamie, I'm going to continue to interrupt, and I apologize.
That's all right.
Here, take it over, Jamie, and I keep talking. In order to do animation on a computer, you actually need a draw screen or something. I don't know what they're called.
Tablet?
Okay. Duh. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the 21st century. There's something called a tablet out now that you may want to look into. Anyway, I didn't know. I mean, Cameron, I'm not an artist. I have no idea. But you showed us beforehand, before we went live on air, the screen that you currently use, and it looks to be much larger than a tablet to me.
Yeah, it's called a Cintiq, a Wacom Cintiq, and it's a 21-inch screen, and I can basically draw right on it. Wacom is kind of like the industry standard. There are cheaper products out there, more economical products, I should say, that you can purchase. For example, Wacom makes smaller tablets that you can draw right on. I think they make a 6x9 tablet and other things that are a little bit smaller and more economical. And you draw on it you're not drawing on the screen, but you're drawing on almost like a mouse pad kind of sized thing.
That was kind of, well, that's where my confusion came in, Cam. It's because you showed me what you used, and I just assumed there was a separate piece that you needed, because I mean, what you had was larger than I'm just trying to make excuses for myself being ignorant about things. Cameron, Andy Pugh has another question. Andy.
Hasn't he had enough already?
All right, he's got more. The boy's never not curious. Has Cameron ever considered sponsorship with his YouTube videos?
Is that enough for Andy?
Yeah, I have a couple of sponsors already. I don't want to, I don't want, it'd be nice to have income from my YouTube channel, but I don't want that to be my source of income. I want to sell art. I use the YouTube channel as a means to promote the work that I do. I like to have partners as long as it's related to what I do. For example, Unita Abrasives and Sabertooth Carving Burrs are my two partners right now because I use them in my work quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like everything I do, I use those two things.
But it needs to be a marriage before it can actually happen, is what you're basically saying.
Yeah.
I've been approached by other companies, but they are not related to what I do. For example, clothing companies. I got a real money offer from an outdoor clothing company just recently, and I turned them down because it's not anything that doesn't really have anything to do with what I do.
It's like, dude, I don't need a mattress in my workshop.
Right. Yeah.
I could draw a logo on the pocket, but then I'm done. I mean, what do you want? It's like,
Well, there's a earphone and earbud company that sponsors a lot of makers.
Raycon. Is it that one or the other one? IsoTunes.
Yeah. So companies like that, I mean, they sponsor a lot of companies. If they approach me, I don't think I would.
All right. Chris Murray has this question for you. What software do you use when you're animating?
That's a excellent question, Chris. There's lots of software out there. My last few jobs have been with Toon Boom Harmony, which is a very powerful piece of software. It's also very expensive. I like to use for my personal software a 12-year-old version of Macromedia Flash. I use Flash 8 if I'm doing animation for myself or any drawing. It's basically a vector piece of software, and it's just really easy to manipulate and do things quickly because I'm accustomed to using it. Whereas Harmony takes a long time to set things up in order to eventually do something.
First of all, hi, Caitlin. Glad you could join us, hon. I appreciate it. You can see her. I don't know if you can see her question or not. It says, you use skateboards in your videos. Can you actually skateboard?
I've never skateboarded. I get all my skateboard scraps from a friend of mine in town who is an avid skateboarder, Larry Reeves. He's become a pretty good friend. Just a wonderful man, very friendly and open and generous with his time and wood scraps.
You're going to have to tell him he needs to practice on his skateboard a bit more if he keeps breaking them.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't personally break the skateboards.
Jamie, I'm sorry. Once again, I'm sorry because I have totally interrupted you, and
you crack on.
And our audience has taken over, so I do apologize, my friend. But we have another question here from. Can you recommend any free software, open source animation software, for somebody perhaps just getting started?
Yes, I can. Studio Ghibli made Studio Ghibli is a studio in Japan that made My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke and films like that. They released their software for free. I can't remember the name of it. I think it might just be Open Studio or Open something.
But I mean, I guess because Blue Light Turner actually has the same question. What software would you recommend for a beginner if you were going to just, here's the first step into how to get the gist of how this thing works? I mean, is there something out there that you're aware of?
I've always worked in a professional environment, so I don't know of any easy to use animation software.
I've got to be honest, I wouldn't tell Scott anything anyway. He'd use it for evil.
If you're interested in 2D, that Studio Ghibli software, it's Open Studio or something like that. It's a pretty simple name. But for 3D animation, Blender is probably the best free open source.
I've seen people use Blender.
Well, I mean, if any of these folks are YouTube creators, I mean, we all had to go through the process of learning how to use production software. So it's kind of like you dive in, man, and then you go, and you can start at the beginner level, and then you gradually work your way up. That if you continue to have interest. Next question. Oh, that wasn't. I'm sorry about that. Next question was this one from Dale. What's your favorite animated show on right now?
The Simpsons, of course, is my favorite.
What did you expect, Dale?
Yeah, Dale.
Unfortunately, Dale, I don't watch a lot of animation or TV really right now. I'm just not really into TV.
Yeah. Well, Emma Murray says, Studio Ghibli is amazing. I don't know. I've never used any of these software, so I wouldn't have a clue. Ruben Woodwork says, I like 30DS Max when it was still around. Okay.
Yeah, 3D Studio Max is old software.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you're showing your age there, Ruben. What's up, big guy?
3D Studio actually when it was still a piece of DOS software.
Oh my God, we are going back. Hey, Ruben, come over to my place anytime. We can hobble around together. Jamie,
Right, let's get to part 2 of my question. Right, what's back to your YouTube channel? What was the one of your favorite pieces that you uploaded?
Combining both the video as well as the piece, I think my two favorites. The first one is the icosahedron, which is a very large piece I made out of 20 segmented rings. That was one of my favorite pieces. I was really proud of that one. And once it came together, as you can see if you watch the video, I kind of like go, yeah, shake my fist in the air. Also, the shark video, I think, the tiger shark video, that is, I think, the best combination of the art piece I did as well as the quality of the video that I made.
All right, I'm going to ask all three of you because I'm both of you, you, Cam, and then you, Jamie. Does it disappoint you when you've done a video and you look back and you finally finished editing and you're watching at the final video that you're about ready to put out and you go, this is actually not bad. And I'm kind of surprised at myself that I did this. And then you release the video and it gets not even near the views you thought it was going to get.
Yeah.
Do you find that a bit depressing? Because I know it's happened to me several times.
Well, my videos don't really get views. So
please, Cam, your videos get views. Shut up. You wouldn't have 7,500 people watching you if you didn't get videos that were watched. So just you.
And of those subscribers regularly watch my videos.
Well, nobody's do, but I mean, just saying it. Nobody. Okay, whatever. Play Mr. Humble. I don't give a flying.
That upsets me is I spend a lot of money and time on a video, and it gets next to nothing, and then I put out some crappy little walnut bowl about 5 inches round, and it gets over 10,000 views within a week.
I should clarify that when I say my videos don't get views, my YouTube videos don't get views.
Yes, they do, but whatever.
Obviously, the videos that I've posted to Instagram have gone crazy viral. So those do get views.
Oh well. Okay. I'm not talking to you anymore about this. Chris Murray, the other of the dragons, wants to know. I'm not. Can you see the question, Cam?
Are the Simpsons predictions going to come true again?
Prediction is going to come true again. Always. The Simpsons has predicted everything. So you should keep watching the show in order to see the future.
Yeah. Are they going to predict that my ceiling will be white to shut Dale up?
Could be. You never know what you're going to find on The Simpsons.
Ah.
Your ceiling actually should be white, but I'll leave that alone.
That panel should be blue as well, but there you go.
Cam, is there anything we haven't covered today that you would like to get out there so people get to know you a little better? Is there anything you want to let people know about you that we haven't brought forth
Yes.
upon this nastiness that we call a podcast?
I prefer briefs.
Yes, I was just about to say that, and he got there first.
Don't defund the police. Brilliant answer. Thank you, man.
Excellent.
God, he's a hero. I already love this guy.
Oh dear.
Well, Chris, it was the first time I've ever met you. I mean, I've been aware of your channel and aware of your videos for obviously quite some time, but I've never had the pleasure of actually meeting you. So
his name's Cameron, not Chris.
Well, did I call him Chris? I'm sorry.
I thought you were talking to yourself. I'm like,
well, that shows you how well we know each other, right? It's like, and by the way, Cam, I am horrible with names, so please forgive that.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
You can call me Joe if you like. That's okay, Joe. I'll forgive you.
I thought it was cute.
I see what you did there. All right, Emma from. You know what? This ought to be good. This ought to go. This question ought to go along with Jamie's, nonsense that he asks every now and then. Emma wants to know taco or pizza. Cam, that's to you.
Damn,
taco or pizza.
Sorry, yeah. I had to think about that because I like them both equally. I love both tacos and pizza.
All right, cop out. No.
Oh.
No. We need an answer. Taco or pizza? Think of the best taco you ever had.
Tacos.
Best pizza you ever had. Taco.
Tacos.
He said tacos.
Tacos.
No. Okay. Well, it was nice having you on. Goodbye. Anyway. I'm just kidding. Jamie, you got anything else?
Yes, I've got Jamie's page.
Oh God.
To do. Unfortunately, I wish this could this news could be a bit more upbeat, but unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, there's been a couple of losses in the community, and I'm saddened to announce. First off, we lost quite a bit of a pillar in the wood-turning community, Mr. Mark Baker. Mm-hmm. And we also lost an incredible woman and friend to the community, Sharon from Figments Made. So on behalf of Chris and Richard and obviously everyone in the maker community, our sincere condolences go to Sharon and Mark's family and friends. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And that was, I never had the honor and or pleasure to meet either one of them, Jamie. I know that you did, but I didn't. But I've seen the comments that the community has made regarding both of those people, and it was obviously my loss that I hadn't. So, I feel that. I
had the pleasure of meeting Sharon at Maker Faire a couple of years ago, and she was so sweet, and she would always comment on my videos with positive things to say. And yeah, she was just a pillar of the community, a bastion of the community, and everyone knew her and loved her.
Yeah, she was
really
awesome.
sad.
Yeah, big time.
Well, God bless her and her family. Hope that they're able to make it through.
Yeah. On to the shout outs. So I've got a couple of shout outs. So the first one goes to Scott, the Blue Light Turner. And the other one goes to Dale of Maple Tree Studios. The reason being is all of this, the workshop. None of this would have been possible without them guys. They spent 2 solid days here working their asses off. I'm going to put it bluntly. Breaking wind a lot as well, if I'm honest with you.
Hope there's a fan going.
Luckily, Dale convinced me to get that door open, and now I know why. But yeah, they really worked hard, and if it wasn't for them, then I basically wouldn't have a decent looking workshop. So go over and support them guys, give them some love, subscribe, like, hit that bell, all that good stuff. They really, really well and truly deserve it.
Blue Light Turner and also Maple Tree Studios. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, pillars of the community, them too, without a shadow of a doubt. And they didn't want nothing in return. Well, it's apart from bacon rolls, obviously, and Jaffa cakes and
and a couple of brews here. And maybe a brew here and there, but other than that, Yeah, that's awesome too. That's cool, Jamie. I'm glad you got a space now, especially with electricity that you have. You can plug in more than one outlet.
I've gone from one double socket hanging off the wall to six double sockets.
Nice.
And a workshop that's now not going to catch fire.
Awesome. And Jamie, I hate to interrupt once again, but I want to keep your record. And if you can't keep your record straight, then I will, because I don't believe you asked your question that you normally ask every guest that we have on here yet, or have you? Because if you have, then it was when I was nodding off.
No, but Cam asked it instead. Cam answered it without me having to ask it.
Oh, okay.
He cheated. He
cheated. I cheated you out of asking that question.
Okay. So, tell me, because it must have been when I was reading chat or something. I just didn't hear it. What? Just Cam, please tell me you said commando.
I did not say that.
Never mind. Go ahead, Jamie.
So, apart from that, we have the usual premieres going on tonight of me at 11 p.m., which is in about half an hour, and Caitlin and the Cat at 11:15. And obviously, Cam, your shout out, if you would mind.
I would like to tell you about Jose Pablo Barriera, and he is a North Carolina artist. I follow on Instagram. He is JP_Barriera, BARREA, EDA. Sorry.
Link is in the description if you're looking for it. It's down there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He makes wonderful animal sculptures out of old wooden chairs, and his work is just wonderful. And you should all check him out. At least take a look at his Instagram feed and see the cool things he makes.
Is he? You said he was in South Carolina with you, or is in North Carolina?
Asheville is in North Carolina. Yes.
Okay. Cool. There's a lot of people that make furniture that live in North Carolina. I don't know what the deal was. Charles Neal used to live up there.
Yeah, Asheville is quite the place for wood makers. Lots of furniture makers and artists working in wood there.
Unbelievable, the amount of work that comes out of that area of the country. Yeah. My shout out. We've got a little bit of time. My shout out today is I'll do in Richard's honor, because he's not here to do it for himself. So I'll do it in Richard's honor. My shout out is for Richard. I'll do it for Chad Stanton this week. And actually, I like Chad and I like his videos too. Chad this week did a video, and the reason why I'm shooting it out is because he did a really good video. For anybody who's not aware of how to do this or who has never done it before, he did a really good video on how to flatten a board using a router. And if you've never tried that before, I would encourage you to take a look at this video, because I've done this on several occasions, and I'm telling you, it works, and it works well. The only investment you will need to make is in the router bit that you use. But, compare that cost of the bit to the cost of a jointer, and I think you'll find out that it's much more economical and equally as effective. May take you a bit more long time, but other than that, it's a really it's interesting video to watch. And he explained it really, really well, so that even people like me could understand it, and that says something. So if you have an opportunity, give Chad Stanton a look on YouTube this week, because he put out a good video on that if you're interested.
Yeah, I've used that technique to flatten the top of my workbench. When I first made my workbench, I spent $60 on just the router bit itself.
Yeah, well, the bit's not cheap, but if you compare that to buying a new jointer, it's like, which way am I going to go? I'll get the bit. Yeah, and if you need it, you need it.
Yeah,
that was one of my earliest videos on my YouTube channel, making my workbench.
Awesome.
So check out Cammie's Garage on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah,
see, Cammie's Garage. Link to that is in the description as well. So click on, and Cameron was sporty enough to join us today. So please, if for no other reason, give the man some love, because he's obviously willing to take abuse.
Just remind everyone of Laurie's Instagram again.
Laurie the Maker.
Laurie the
All
Maker.
one word.
There you go.
My wonderful wife makes
I guess that's everything for today's show. We stick around for a couple of minutes.
We can if you'd like.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I guess let's quickly run through the chat. Just say hello to everyone that's out there. Why not? So we're out in the chat. We've got Dale from Maple Tree Studios, Mark the Gentleman Woodturner, Chris of the Dragons, Wayne of Bigfoot Woodcrafts, Andy Pugh, Wayne the Woodturner, John McFashy, Mark from Jurassic Mark. That's from Nova Scotia Mark that Chris was talking about.
Cool.
Terry Bray, Scott the Blue Light Turner, Huey Lionheart. Let's keep going up. Steve Jobbins, Emma Dragontail. I'm not going to read everybody out, otherwise we'll be here all day. Oh, Ian in the shed as well. He was at the bottom. So, right, until next week, everybody. Again, where Chris and I probably won't know, having a clue what we're talking about.
Actually, we do this. Actually, we do this week. We know what we're doing next week.
Yes, we do. I lied. Sorry, my bad.
You've been listening to the Makers International Podcast with Chris.
Please stop! Don't do the
Cam Porter.
Don't do the DJ voice, please. Just don't do it. It's just you have to know my. You'd have to know my history to know how much that offends me. Anyway, go ahead.
Until next week. Until next week, when Chris knows what we're talking about.
There you go.
We'll see you then. Take it easy, everyone.
Have a great week, everybody.
Love you.